The issue is, it seems as though he wants to kind of like exert power and dominance over people who don't really want it.
Can't believe it. Like that
Yeah.
somebody would do that to somebody that they say they love.
Yeah.
Think about it, because she was on the floor, passed out. She looked lifeless. And he was...
Imagine this. One of the biggest names in the music industry, someone who's built an empire over decades, now finds himself behind bars, and not just for any run-of-the-mill charge. We're talking about Sean Diddy Combs, who is at the center of a scandal so huge that it could land him a life sentence. The shocking twist, his former partner, Cassie, is the one helping take him down. And trust us, what she's about to reveal could be the final nail in the coffin for Diddy's freedom.
So she claims she did try to leave several times, but Diddy would always send his team to find her, track her down, bring her back, under the basis that her career would be ruined if she left.
It's hard to believe that the man once known for throwing some of the wildest parties in Hollywood is now fighting for his life in court. Sean Combs, who's had a career spanning over 30 years, went from producing hits for the notorious B.I.G. to being one of the most influential figures in entertainment. But behind the glitz and glamour, a much darker reality was playing out. And now, thanks to Cassie, the world is about to see who Diddy really is when the lights go out. For those who don't know, Cassie Ventura isn't just some random ex-girlfriend with a bone to pick. She's a singer and model who was romantically involved with Diddy for almost a decade. Their relationship began in the mid-2000s, when Cassie was still a rising star. While it may have looked picture perfect on the outside, it didn't take long for rumors of trouble to surface.
I think that it's important to be, as an artist, relatable to other people, but to really tell your story so they can get to know who you really are.
Over the years, whispers about the toxic nature of their relationship began to bubble up, but Cassie remained silent. Until now, her lawsuit filed in 2023 was the first public step in revealing the shocking truth. Cassie accused Diddy of controlling her, manipulating her, and keeping her in a dangerous cycle for years. And the details of this lawsuit, well, they're the kind that sends chills down your spine. Cassie's claims went beyond the usual celebrity drama. According to her, Diddy allegedly used his power to intimidate and control her in the most shocking ways.
Cassie's attorneys and what was reported there, and how they spoke out, they said they're participating with the government. So let's see how this works out.
The lawsuit described a pattern of manipulation and coercion, leaving Cassie feeling trapped for years. But why did she stay silent for so long? That's the million-dollar question, right? Turns out, Diddy's threats played a massive role in keeping her quiet. Cassie revealed that he'd constantly warned her of the consequences if she ever tried to speak out. The fear was real. After all, we're talking about a man who's got influence in all the right places, someone who could seemingly make or break careers with a snap of his fingers.
Freak-offs throughout her relationship with Diddy. Red learning recently one horrific detail from Cassie.
She told me the only time.
However, everything changed after Diddy's recent arrest. It's as if that one moment gave Cassie the courage to step up and tell her truth. It's no longer just a civil lawsuit she's involved in. She's now actively cooperating with the FBI. And that's where things get interesting. Word has it, Cassie has been working closely with federal authorities for weeks, providing them with crucial evidence that could seal Diddy's fate. We're talking about evidence that's not just about her past relationship with him, but about a whole host of things that could keep Diddy locked up for the rest of his days. What kind of evidence? Well, let's just say that according to insiders, Cassie's got receipts, literal and figurative. She's allegedly handed over documents, recordings, and testimonies that detail some truly shocking moments.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was up.
One source claims that some of the things Cassie has shared with investigators go way beyond what anyone expected. We're talking about actions that aren't just morally questionable, they're downright illegal. And it's not just Cassie saying these things. Apparently, there are others who are now starting to speak up, corroborating her story and adding even more weight to her claims.
Handling it that way, I don't know. I think the feds may have messed up too, guys. I think this could blow up in their face.
You think so?
Because
Now, let's rewind a bit. Remember, Cassie has been out of the public eye for a while. After her split from Diddy, she laid low, focusing on her new family and keeping a relatively low profile. But just because she was silent doesn't mean she wasn't paying attention. She's had years to reflect on what happened. And now that Diddy's empire seems to be crumbling, she's ready to make sure everyone knows the full story. One of the key pieces of evidence Cassie has reportedly shared involves recordings from private conversations between her and Diddy. These recordings allegedly capture moments where Diddy is heard making threats, not just to Cassie, but to others in his circle.
I think industry talk, there's a lot of people who, who have worked for him. There's been stories around, which is, not necessarily unusual.
In these recordings, Diddy apparently talks about using his power to silence people who cross him. He's allegedly heard discussing how he can manipulate situations to keep his image squelched clean, while those who dare to speak out are left in the dust. And it's not just the recordings. Cassie has also reportedly handed over financial documents that show just how far Diddy was willing to go to keep certain things hidden. These documents allegedly reveal a pattern of hush money payments to various people over the years, all in an effort to keep the lid on his darker secrets. If this is true, it could be the smoking gun the FBI needs to lock him away for good.
Reason why is because they gathered so much evidence. Supposedly they gathered so many videos and laptops and also electronic devices.
What's even more shocking is that Cassie isn't just stopping at the past. She's reportedly told investigators about events that have taken place as recently as last year. Sources close to the investigation say that she's provided information that shows Diddy hasn't changed his ways at all. If anything, he's only become more brazen. The allegations suggest that he's continued to use his influence to intimidate and control those around him, even as the walls are closing in. Diddy's legal team, of course, is scrambling to do damage control. His lawyers have been fighting tooth and nail to discredit Cassie, painting her as someone out for revenge or looking for a payout.
No, I feel like in more relationships than not, it was a mutual decision.
Right.
And if not, then it was like, I was like, that's done.
They've been quick to point out that Cassie's lawsuit was settled shortly after it was filed, implying that she's only after money. But here's the thing. Cassie's cooperation with federal authorities suggests that she's not just after a check. She wants justice. And now that she's working with the FBI, it's clear that she's not backing down anytime soon. In fact, sources close to Cassie say that she's more determined than ever to make sure Diddy is held accountable. She's reportedly told friends that she's tired of living in fear and that she wants to make sure no one else has to go through what she did.
Is he controlling? Yes, he is. Will he put his hands on a female? Yes, he will. Would he put his hands on a male producer or anything? Yes, he will.
And that's why her role in this case is so critical. She's not just a victim seeking justice for herself. She's setting the stage for others to come forward too. Speaking of others, this is where things get even more complicated for Diddy. Cassie's revelations have reportedly opened the floodgates, and now more people are coming forward with their own stories. According to insiders, the FBI is receiving new leads every day, many of which are connected to the information Cassie has already provided. It's like a house of cards, and with each new piece of evidence, Diddy's defense gets weaker and weaker.
Lawsuit, it really did open the floodgates, as you said, because it detailed almost 2 decades of hidden coercion.
So what's next? Well, Diddy's team is bracing for the worst. They know that if the FBI decides to move forward with certain charges, he could be facing a sentence that would keep him behind bars for life. And while his lawyers are doing everything they can to prevent that from happening, the evidence that Cassie has reportedly provided could make it nearly impossible for Diddy to avoid a lengthy prison sentence. As of now, the investigation is still ongoing, but sources close to the case say it's only a matter of time before more charges are brought against Diddy. And with Cassie's cooperation, it's becoming increasingly clear that this is just the beginning. Diddy's empire, once untouchable, is starting to crumble, and there's no telling how far it will fall.
If he's allowed to go through with any of the sales, I won't be able to recoup any of my monies or anything from him as a result of any possible judgment in this action, if he's allowed to proceed with it. And an injunction or a restraining order would help ensure that he's not manipulating and selling the property to avoid this.
The world is watching, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Cassie's decision to cooperate with the FBI has sent shockwaves through the industry, and everyone is wondering what she'll reveal next. But one thing's for sure, whatever comes out in the coming weeks will undoubtedly change the course of this case and Diddy's life forever. And if you thought Cassie's revelations were shocking, hold on, because the floodgates didn't just crack open, they exploded. Once her lawsuit hit the news, it was like a signal flare for everyone else who had kept quiet about their experiences with Diddy. And what followed was nothing short of a tidal wave of accusations. It's safe to say that Diddy's downfall has been a long time coming, and Cassie was just the catalyst. Now, let's talk about the ripple effect. Cassie's courage in coming forward didn't just give her a voice. It opened the door for others who had been too afraid to speak up. And boy, did they speak up. As soon as her lawsuit was filed, more lawsuits started piling up one after the other like dominoes falling. The stories, eerily similar, accusations of manipulation, control, and fear. People who had once been close to Diddy, whether romantically or professionally, began telling their own stories of how the music mogul's charm was just a mask hiding something far more sinister. Take, for example, Dawn Richard, a former member of Danity Kane, one of the girl groups Diddy put together during his reality TV days. She too had a story to tell, and it wasn't a pretty one. Dawn claimed that behind the scenes, Diddy was a controlling force, often subjecting those around him to degrading and manipulative behavior.
Allegations that have become shockingly familiar against Diddy in recent months as he has faced lawsuit after lawsuit from women and men who have accused him of all manner of bad behavior.
According to reports, she even witnessed some of the darker moments between Diddy and Cassie, moments that she described as completely shocking and unimaginable at the time. But like so many others, Dawn stayed silent, fearful of what might happen if she spoke out against one of the most powerful men in the industry. But now, emboldened by Cassie's bravery, she has come forward with her own claims, adding more weight to the growing mountain of accusations against Diddy.
Diddy is now being sued in addition to what we just talked about by Dawn Richards. You guys will remember her. She was a part of Making the Band.
Dirty Money.
Dirty Money, the Danny Kane era. So basically what she is alleging, she's alleging a lot of different things.
And then there's the case of Tiffany Red, a songwriter and close friend of Cassie's, who also couldn't stay silent any longer. Tiffany shared her story about witnessing the terrifying dynamic between Diddy and Cassie, saying that she often saw Diddy verbally berating Cassie, calling her names, and treating her with zero respect.
This is in the matter of Derek Lee Cardello Smith, MDOC number 267009 versus Sean Combs, Sean Puff Daddy Combs, also known as Sean P. Diddy, also known as Diddy, Bad Boy Records label owner.
She also revealed how she saw firsthand the lengths to which Diddy would go to control Cassie's life, threatening to take away her career and everything she had worked for if she didn't comply with his demands. Tiffany, like many others, feared what might happen to her career if she stepped forward, but the weight of the truth finally became too much to bear. Now, if you think this was just an isolated pattern of behavior with Cassie, think again. What's becoming crystal clear is that Diddy's actions weren't just directed at one person. In fact, they paint a disturbing picture of someone who allegedly used his power and influence to manipulate multiple people for years. These accusations are coming from individuals across different parts of his life: romantic partners, employees, even people who were supposed to be his friends. It seems like wherever Diddy went, control and intimidation followed. One particularly troubling story comes from a former music producer who worked closely with Diddy on several projects. This producer, known only as Rodney Jones, filed a lawsuit detailing how Diddy not only exerted control over his professional life, but also over his personal life. Jones described an environment where Diddy would manipulate those around him to fulfill his whims, often forcing them into uncomfortable and compromising situations. He even went so far as to claim that Diddy had used hidden cameras in his homes to monitor and control people without their knowledge, further feeding into the narrative of a man obsessed with power.
New at 5, the legal troubles continue for Sean Diddy Combs tonight after a judge ordered the music mogul to pay $100 million to a Michigan man who says that he was assaulted by Combs in '97.
According to court documents, Derek Cardello Smith says Combs and then assaulted him during an after party at a Holiday Inn in Detroit. But Combs never responded to the lawsuit in court.
And here's where it gets even messier. These lawsuits aren't just isolated incidents. They all seem to follow a similar pattern of behavior. The common thread: control, manipulation, and fear. It's almost as if Diddy operated like a puppet master, pulling the strings behind the scenes while maintaining a charming and polished public image. But with each new lawsuit, the facade continues to crack, revealing the darker side of the man who once dominated the music industry. Let's not forget the legal nightmare this has turned into for Diddy and his team. His lawyers are trying to fight back, but the sheer number of accusations is making it almost impossible to keep up. Every week, it seems like there's a new lawsuit, a new person coming forward, a new allegation that adds to the already overwhelming case against him. Rumors are swirling that Diddy's legal team is in full-on panic mode, scrambling to deal with the flood of lawsuits while trying to prevent more damaging information from coming to light.
The money that they're saying Diddy has to start paying this guy on October 1st, right. Diddy's team is like, hold on, we need an emergency conversation about why this should not have been granted. Mm-hmm. And they awarded him a TRO, which basically meant that Diddy's team was not allowed to sell any property in that state or anything related to what could be used to pay the plaintiff.
But the real question is, how will this all play out for Diddy? Well, if the rumors are anything to go by, he's facing a massive legal battle that could very well end in a life sentence. There's been talk that federal investigators are building a rock-solid case against him, and Cassie's cooperation is just the beginning. Insiders are saying that the evidence being compiled, both from Cassie and other accusers, could be enough to guarantee that Diddy will be spending the rest of his life behind bars.
Well, one of the things that's going to happen, and I do believe that there has been a grand jury investigation that has been employed in this case. I think there may be a federal investigation going on, and there may be a stateside one, but I'm not totally sure. But one of the things that the prosecution in any case is going to try to do is show that there is a pattern of behavior here.
In fact, sources close to the investigation have hinted that some of the most explosive revelations haven't even come out yet. The FBI is said to be meticulously going through years of evidence, including financial records, phone records, and testimonies from various individuals who were once part of Diddy's inner circle. And with every new piece of evidence, the case against him gets stronger. Of course, Diddy's legal team is doing everything they can to push back, but it seems like they're fighting a losing battle. While they've managed to get some of the lawsuits settled out of court, the sheer volume of accusations is making it nearly impossible for them to keep things under wraps. And with more people coming forward every day, it's becoming increasingly difficult for them to control the narrative. What's more, Diddy's once loyal fan base is starting to turn on him. Social media is buzzing with outrage, and fans who once admired him for his business acumen and musical talent are now questioning everything they thought they knew about him. The backlash is real, and it's only getting worse as more details come to light. Even some of his celebrity friends are starting to distance themselves, no longer willing to stand by someone who's being accused of such serious behavior.
Diddy has been under criminal investigation for months by federal prosecutors here in New York. And if there are criminal charges, many of them may look a lot like what some of these individuals have been describing.
So what's next for Diddy? Well, the odds aren't exactly in his favor. Legal experts are already predicting that if the case goes to trial, he's facing a massive sentence. And with the FBI's investigation continuing to uncover more dirt, things are looking pretty bleak for the once untouchable music mogul.
Well, that's the interesting part here. And so what the plaintiff in this case did was filed for what we call a temporary restraining order, which would have prevented Diddy, or would prevent him from selling that Los Angeles home. And so we know, or at least we believe, that that TRO was granted to enjoin or stop him from selling that home.
But here's the thing, Diddy isn't the kind of guy to go down without a fight. He's got the resources, the connections, and the determination to try and salvage what's left of his reputation. His lawyers are working overtime trying to discredit his accusers and paint this entire situation as a smear campaign. They've been quick to label the lawsuits as money grabs, pointing out that some of the accusers have already settled for large sums. But with Cassie now working with federal authorities, it's becoming clear that this isn't just about money. It's about justice. At the end of the day, though, it's hard to ignore the growing mountain of evidence against Diddy. And as more people come forward, it seems inevitable that the full truth will eventually come out. Whether or not Diddy can wiggle his way out of this one remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, the empire he built is crumbling, and it may be too late to save it. And with all of this swirling around him, it's worth asking, how many more will come forward? How deep does this rabbit hole really go? It's clear that Diddy's time at the top is running out, and his once glittering reputation may soon be tarnished forever. As more people take a stand and tell their stories, it's becoming impossible to ignore the fact that Diddy's legacy won't just be defined by his music and business ventures. It'll also be defined by the scandals that are now threatening to destroy everything he's worked for. The real question is, how much longer can he hold on before the final curtain falls? Because at this point, the clock is ticking, and it's only a matter of time before the truth catches up with him. So, with everything on the line, will Diddy's empire completely collapse under the weight of these allegations? Or is there a chance he can somehow bounce back from all this? And do you think Cassie's revelations will encourage even more people to come forward? Or have we already seen the worst of it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time